Agent Amigos. A new talk, a new story, the new leadership, why working with AI feels like managing a team. Let's begin. Here's the thing, you've probably noticed that working with AI feels different than using any other software. It's not like learning Excel or mastering Photoshop. There's something else going on. Something that feels almost human. And that's not a coincidence. The way we interact with AI today, through prompts, conversations, and iterative feedback, mirrors the way managers interact with their teams. You're not just typing commands into a machine, you're guiding an intelligence toward a goal. And that's leadership. Think about it. When you write a prompt for ChatGPT or Claude, you're not just issuing instructions. You're setting context, providing examples, and clarifying your desired outcome. That's exactly what a good manager does when they brief a team member. You're saying, here's what we're trying to achieve, here's the background, and here's what success looks like. The numbers back this up. A 2023 survey by Microsoft found that 70% of workers said they'd delegate as much work as possible to AI to lessen their workload. But here's the catch, delegating effectively isn't easy. It requires clear communication, trust, and the ability to give constructive feedback. Those are leadership skills, not coding skills. And that's why this shift is so significant. We're moving from a world where technical proficiency was king to a world where communication and judgment reign. The person who can articulate a vision and guide an AI to execute it will outshine the person who can just write a perfect line of code. So, let's explore this idea together. Over the next several minutes, we'll look at how working with AI is reshaping what it means to be a leader, and why your ability to manage a team of algorithms might be your most valuable skill. This isn't just about technology, it's about the future of work and your place in it. Imagine you're a manager at a tech company. You've got a new project, and you need to get your team moving. You don't just shout orders and expect results. You call a meeting, explain the vision, answer questions, and make sure everyone's on the same page. That's how you get things done. Now, imagine you're working with an AI tool. You don't just write a report and expect a masterpiece. You engage in a dialogue. You say, here's the topic, here's the audience, here's the tone I want. Can you give me a draft? The AI responds, you refine, you iterate. It's a conversation, not a command. This conversational approach is a radical departure from traditional programming. In the old days, you wrote code that did exactly what you told it, nothing more. There was no room for interpretation. But with AI, you're dealing with a probabilistic system that can understand nuance, make inferences, and even push back when something doesn't make sense. That means you have to be a better communicator. You can't just say do it, you have to explain what it is, why it matters, and what success looks like. You have to be patient when the AI misunderstands, and you have to be clear when you correct it. These are the skills of a great leader, not just a great coder. Here's a concrete example. A marketing manager might use AI to generate social media posts. She doesn't just say write a post about our new product. She says, write a series of 3 posts for Instagram, targeting young professionals, highlighting the eco-friendly features, and using a casual but informative tone. Include emojis and relevant hashtags. That's a brief, not a command. And the difference is crucial. So, the next time you're crafting a prompt, think of it as a conversation with a team member. Ask questions, provide context, and be open to a back and forth. That's how you get the best out of any intelligent being, human or machine. And that's leadership in action. You know that feeling when you're trying to explain something to a colleague, and they just don't get it? You repeat yourself, you try different words, you maybe even draw a diagram. It's frustrating, but you eventually find a way to connect. That's the essence of communication. With AI, that's your daily reality. The system is incredibly smart, but it's not a mind reader. If you're vague or ambiguous, you'll get vague or ambiguous results. If you're clear and specific, you'll get something useful. The onus is on you to communicate effectively. Consider the difference between two prompts. One says, write a blog post about AI. The other says, write a 500-word blog post for a general audience about the benefits of AI in healthcare, focusing on 3 key examples, with a friendly and optimistic tone, and a call to action at the end. Which one do you think will produce a better result? The second one, obviously. And that's because you've given clear instructions, just like a good leader would. This is a skill that takes practice. You have to learn to think about what information the AI needs to succeed. What context is missing? What examples might help? What tone is appropriate? It's like being a project manager who has to brief a new hire. You can't assume they know everything, you have to lay it out. And here's the interesting part, this skill transfers to human interactions. When you practice communicating with AI, you become a better communicator with people. You learn to be more explicit about your expectations, to provide better context, and to ask better questions. A study by Stanford University found that workers who used AI tools reported improved communication skills in their teams. That's a win-win. So, don't underestimate the power of a well-crafted prompt. It's not just a technical skill, it's a leadership skill. And the more you practice it, the more you'll see the results in every aspect of your work. Every leader knows that you can't just set a vision and hope for the best. You need to set expectations, define boundaries, and establish guardrails. That's how you keep a project on track and avoid disaster. And it's exactly what you need to do when working with AI. Let me give you an example. Imagine you're a product manager using AI to generate customer support responses. You don't just say, help our customers. You say, respond to this complaint about a delayed shipment. Apologize, offer a 10% discount, and explain that we're working on it. Keep it under 100 words, and use a professional but empathetic tone. You've set the guardrails. But you also need to set limits on what the AI can and cannot do. For instance, you might tell the AI not to make any promises about refunds or to escalate certain issues to a human. You're defining the boundaries of its authority, just like you would for a junior team member. That's leadership. And it's not just about what you say, it's about what you don't say. If you don't specify the tone, the AI might default to a formal corporate voice that doesn't match your brand. If you don't mention the budget, the AI might suggest an expensive campaign. You have to think ahead and cover all the bases. This is where many people fail. They assume the AI will just know what they want. But it won't. You have to be the one to set the framework. And that requires foresight and clarity, 2 qualities that define great leaders. So, before you start working with AI, take a moment to define your expectations. What are the goals? What are the constraints? What are the non-negotiables? Write them down if you have to. Then, communicate them clearly to the AI. It's the same process you'd use with a new employee. And it works. Here's a bold claim. The most important skill for working with AI is not technical expertise, it's the ability to delegate. And delegation is a leadership skill that many people struggle with. Think about a typical manager. They have a team of people, each with their own strengths and weaknesses. The manager can't do everything themselves, so they assign tasks, trust their team to execute, and then review the results. That's delegation. And it's hard because it requires letting go of control. With AI, you're delegating to a tool that can do many things, but you still have to decide what to hand off and what to keep. You have to trust that the AI will do a good job, but you also have to verify its work. That's the same balance a leader strikes with their team. Let me give you a real-world example. A software developer uses AI to write a routine function. They don't just copy-paste the code, they review it, test it, and make sure it fits into the larger system. They're delegating the task but not the responsibility. That's exactly what a good manager does. But here's the thing, many people are afraid to delegate to AI because they think it will make mistakes. And it will. But so do humans. The key is to set up a system of checks and balances. You review the output, you provide feedback, and you iterate. That's the delegation loop. And when you do it well, you can accomplish far more than you ever could alone. You can take on more projects, explore more ideas, and scale your impact. That's what great leaders do. They multiply their effectiveness through others, whether those others are human or artificial. So, next time you're tempted to do everything yourself, remember, delegation is a sign of strength, not weakness. And with AI, you have an unlimited team at your disposal. Use it wisely. Feedback is the breakfast of champions. You've probably heard that phrase, and it's true for both people and AI. When you work with an AI, you're constantly giving feedback. You say, "That's not quite right, can you make it more casual?" Or "That's good, but can you add more data?" This is the feedback loop, and it's essential for getting good results. But here's the catch: the quality of your feedback matters as much as the quantity. Vague feedback like "make it better" is useless. Specific feedback like "shorten the sentences and use more active verbs" is helpful. You have to be a good coach, not just a critic. And that requires you to understand what you want. If you don't have a clear vision of the desired outcome, you can't give meaningful feedback. That's why leaders spend time clarifying their goals before they start. They know that feedback is only useful if it's directed toward a target. Let me give you an example. A content creator uses AI to draft a newsletter. The first draft is too long and too formal. Instead of saying "make it better," they say, "cut it down to 300 words, make it sound more conversational, and add a personal anecdote at the beginning." The AI then revises accordingly. That's effective feedback. But feedback isn't just about correcting mistakes, it's also about reinforcing what works. When the AI does something right, you should say so. That helps it learn your preferences and produce better results in the future. It's like training a new employee: you praise good work and redirect bad work. And this skill of giving feedback is incredibly valuable in the workplace. People who are good at giving feedback are seen as better leaders. They create a culture of continuous improvement. So, by practicing feedback with AI, you're also developing your leadership muscles. So, don't be shy about giving feedback. Be specific, be constructive, and be positive when warranted. The AI will thank you, well, not literally, but you'll get better results. And that's what matters. You're standing at the edge of a dense fog, and you can't see the path ahead. That's what it feels like to work with AI sometimes. The technology is new, the possibilities are vast, and the outcomes are uncertain. You have to navigate ambiguity. And that's a core leadership challenge. Leaders are often called upon to make decisions with incomplete information. They have to chart a course when the map is blank. And they have to communicate that vision to others, even when they're not sure themselves. With AI, you're constantly dealing with ambiguity. You might not know exactly how the AI will interpret your prompt, or what its limitations are, or how it will respond to a novel situation. You have to experiment, learn, and adapt. That's the essence of leading in uncertain times. Here's a story. A data scientist is using AI to analyze customer data. She's not sure what patterns the AI will find, but she has a hypothesis. She gives the AI a broad prompt and lets it explore. The results surprise her. She discovers a trend she wouldn't have found on her own. She embraces the ambiguity, and it pays off. But ambiguity can also be scary. You might worry that the AI will hallucinate, or produce biased results, or act in unexpected ways. That's why you need to have a framework for managing uncertainty. You set up guardrails, you test assumptions, and you have a plan B. That's what leaders do. And here's the thing: the ability to thrive in ambiguity is a skill that's in high demand. A report by the World Economic Forum lists analytical thinking and active learning among the top skills for 2025, both of which require comfort with uncertainty. So, by learning to work with AI, you're also preparing yourself for the future of work. Leading through change. So, when you're faced with a foggy path, don't panic. Embrace the uncertainty, ask questions, and take calculated risks. That's leadership. And it's the only way to make progress in a world that's changing faster than ever. The human element also means recognizing that AI is not a magic bullet. It's a tool, and like any tool, it's only as good as the person using it. So you need to invest in your people, train them, support them, and give them the space to experiment and make mistakes. Remember, your team is your biggest asset, not the AI. First up, how do you handle AI errors that seem to come out of nowhere? Great question. Remember, as a leader, you don't just accept the error, you investigate. Treat it like a team member who made a mistake. Ask the AI to explain its reasoning, check the data it used, and then guide it with corrective feedback. It's about coaching, not punishing. Another popular one, what if the AI suggests something that goes against my company's values? This is where your leadership really shines. You have the final say. You need to set clear boundaries and ethical guidelines from the start. If the AI suggests something off, it's your job to redirect it, explain why, and even adjust its training data if needed. That's what a good leader does. Someone also asked, how do you keep your team motivated when AI seems to do half the work? That's a classic. The key is to emphasize the human touch. AI can handle the heavy lifting, but it can't build relationships, inspire creativity, or make strategic judgment calls. Your team's role evolves, they become orchestrators, not just doers. Celebrate that shift. We could go on, but let's wrap up with this. What's the biggest mistake people make when working with AI? Thinking it's just a tool. It's not. It's a partner that needs guidance, context, and feedback. When you treat it as a colleague, you unlock its true potential. We hope these answers help you on your leadership journey. Now, let's move on to our final segment, where we'll tie everything together and leave you with actionable next steps. And when you treat them that way, they'll surprise you with what they can achieve. So, as you lead with AI, don't forget the humans. They're the ones who will carry your vision forward, who will champion the change, and who will make the AI truly work for your organization. Because at the end of the day, it's not about the technology. It's about the people. Welcome back, amigos. We've covered a lot of ground today, from the shift in mindset to practical strategies for leading AI. Now, it's time for the part many of you have been waiting for, our audience Q&A. We've received some fantastic questions, and we're going to dive into a few that really highlight the nuances of this leadership approach. Thank you for watching Agent Amigos. If this talk sparked something in you, hit like, subscribe to Agent Amigos, and share it with one person who needs to hear it. Knowledge is better when it is shared. See you at the next talk.